Hello, my name is Doris and I am Little Bird Products. Welcome back if you've been here before. And if you haven't been here before, welcome and please subscribe so that you're notified every time I post a new video. This week, I'm just going to show you a couple of things that I finished for the week. I've had a very busy week. I had a couple of custom orders to finish for a friend, and I'll show you how those looked. They really turned out neat. And then I had a request last week from a subscriber to show you how I make one of my well, they're called kiss lock frame purses. And I had a new pattern that I wanted to try. And I think her name's Ellen Medlock. She's on Etsy. The pattern is quite old. It's been around for a while. I think it's 2011 or something. But anyway, it's still for sale in her Etsy shop. I had made this blue one before, and this one is version 2. And the nice thing about these is that they are, once you have the purse and you have the frame that comes with the purse, you can interchange the bag. You don't have to buy more frames. You can use that same frame because you can just swap out the bags on the bottom of it. I'll also put a link to the frames. There's a lot of different places you can buy them. The kiss lock frame, though, that you want is the one that just has the rod through it. It's a threaded rod with acorn nuts. I learned the name of those. Acorn nuts on the end, and that's what goes through a little pocket at the top of the bag. So I'll show my tutorial of how I made the version 2 of her bag. She has 2 versions. Like I said, the blue one I made before. I actually like this second version better. And as you'll see, I made it sort of according to the pattern. I only made one change, one thing that was different, and I will make it again. In fact, I like this version. The other version's a little easier to make. It's a little faster to make. This one is a little different. It's not super complicated. If you have some entry-level sewing skills, then you can read a pattern and watch my tutorial, hopefully. It's a pretty easy make. Makes a nice little gift. I'm thinking that it would be nice to, when I travel, I like to have little projects that I do. I can't ever sit still and not be busy. I'm thinking I can put my little sewing kit, some of my little hand embroidery, and that kind of stuff, because you can stuff quite a bit in this bag. And it's kind of easy to carry. I have some chains. I am going to put this one for sale in my Etsy store. I'm going to put a chain on it on sale with it. So you can kind of just do it as a crossbody. You can put the chain around your neck, and do it this way. Or you can just carry it, by the frame of the bag. But I think they're kind of cute. I made it real simple. I didn't put, any pockets in it or any of that kind of stuff. It's just an open bag. So it's nice to just kind of throw things in. So I hope you enjoy it. More to come next week. I'm going to be making, I'm hoping I can get around to making some chenille patchwork kimonos. So I want to get some kimonos in the shop. So I'll be doing some of that this next week. So we'll see how I get along. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for joining me, and please subscribe. Bye. How I make these little kiss lock bags. They have, instead of sew in, they have a rod that goes through here and through the pocket. And I made this one the other day. Today I'm going to make a little different one by the same pattern designer on Etsy. But this one doesn't have a gathered pocket at the top. All right, here are the paper patterns. It was a little weird for how to tape them together, but I got through that. And then what I did is I cut them out of a sheet because I like to keep them out of sheets. So what I need to do is take this pattern and cut a front and a back. So that's 2 pieces. And then I need to cut 2 pieces front and back for lining, and then 4 pieces of interfacing, and do the same for the side template. I'll do that cutting and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, so here's my lining pieces cut, 2 of each. Here's my front and back pieces, and then there's some additional pieces for the top of the bar that goes through, and that's 2 10 by 3.5 inch pieces. But what I did is, because I'm using a curtain panel, it had a hem at the bottom, so I'm going to try using those. I know they're a little bigger. I think the 3.5 is probably going to be. This one is, let's see, 1, 2. This is about 3 inches, and they're by 10 inches. The 3.5 probably gets folded in half, so these are a little um, wider. I think they'll work. I mean, I could cut them in half if I need to have them be narrower if I could cut them this way. But I'm trying to use existing what I have. So we'll see how they fit. With me, I always have to make things more complicated. And the only thing left to cut is the interfacing, and I'll cut that here in just a minute and then iron it on. And they do have interfacing on both the front and the back. I'm thinking I only need it on the lining because the lining is lightweight. Maybe not even that. Well, just stay true to the pattern the first time. I will go ahead and use the interfacing on all of the pieces. Back with you on the front and the back pieces of fabric. These are the ones we just did. Just make sure that it's aligned correctly and that the center marks are in the center marks. And I'm going to sew that down, and then I'll be back. Together, we'll take the lining front and back and sew them along the bottom. And we'll also take the front and back pieces of the bag and just sew them along the bottom line. And now we're at the itsy part where we join the side panels to the lining. So I'm going to go read that over 4 or 5 times, and then I'll come back and show you how I stitch it. Following these kind of weird instructions, this is the most important piece here. I marked the center of these side panels. There's a center there, and then there's the center at the top. And then I'm going to pin, they say pin, but I clip things. I'm going to show you how I do this. See, I have it pinned in the center on this end here now. And then what I'm going to do is take and start at the top, bring it up, and this is the right sides to right sides. I'm going to start at the top of the lining here because it's easier to start at the top, and I have pinned it together at the bottom. Remembering this pattern is from, I think it's 2011, so it's about 10 years old. So I'm sure that there's other patterns. I didn't find them anywhere for this. That might be a little easier. This is the way the side seams are, where they do it wider and do a, what do they call it? It's a clipped thing at the bottom to do this. See, then what I'm doing is I'm just clipping it all along, and then I'm going to start at the top on this side again too, and line them up. And again, this is right sides of the lining, and then I'll do the same thing on the outer layer because there's ends to that too. And basically you're making the bag, what I'll call the bag bucket. And it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. I'm learning right along with you, so if I make a mess, I'll let you know. So watch the video till the end to see if I make a mess or if it turns out okay before you start making your own bag. And I recommend you make your first one not out of precious material, but out of something that, it won't break your heart if you mess up your bag. Of course, that's kind of the way you should always do it, I think. Do as I say, not as I do. See, there's the center, and I have to kind of ease this in a little bit here. Oh, that's lining. It won't matter. I tell myself that all the time. I have a little bit there. So what'll end up happening is I'll sew around these, and this is the way your bag bucket, this is the lining will stand. I'm going to go sew this, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. And then I will do the same with the outer fabric. Then we'll see how we're going to join it together. Now, one of the things I didn't do is this pattern, that what this is with the pockets. They also have little pockets that they put on the inside. I think that's a little complicated step for this right now, so I'm not going to put the pockets in. Feel free to do that. It's its own little operation for how to do the pockets, but I felt for my purposes for this bag that I didn't need the pockets. So this is what the sides will look like, hopefully, after I finish sewing them. And then in the pattern, then they have this picture of what the bag looks like. And then they'll do the same with the exterior sides there. They call them exterior sides and the front and back panel. These are the sides, these little rounded pieces. So we'll go work on this. So now I've pinned what I'm going to call the side panels to the front. Yeah, I did that. And it is kind of an itsy thing because I start here at the very top corner, go around. Right here is where it gets gathered up a little bit in that bottom, but it looks okay. And then I'm going to take the sewing machine, sew it all the way around, turn it around the curve, come back this way, and then I'll trim off the excess there, making sure I've caught all the edges. So I go from this side down and around and do both sides. And then I'll come back and show you what this looks like. That way I'll have the lining, as you see over there, the lining bucket I'm going to sew. It has the curve sewn, and then this, and then we'll have an adventure figuring out how we join these two together and how we get it turned, and then how we finish off the top. And then, we're almost finished, and you're learning right along with me. So we'll see if we're an astounding success or a miserable failure. But I think it's going to look pretty good. So the ends are done. I'm going to trim that up a little bit more there. Trimmed off the excess seam for the bulk. But, and I did lie. I decided to line the front of the bag too. I decided, be a little more professional, Doris. Do as the pattern tells you first. Then if you want to make changes, do it after you make the first one. So anyway, now I'm left with this and the lining bag. So now I'll figure out, by reading the instructions, maybe that would be a novel thing, what to do next to put everything together. And then I'll come back and show you once I turned right side out and I folded down, these edges on the end, the raw edges folded in. And this is the lining, and I folded down all the edges all the way around. So far, so good. I don't think it looks too bad. Now, the next step on this here is cutting and inserting the plastic canvas support for the bottom. Well, I'm not going to lie, I've done that before. It does make it a little stiffer. It stands up better, but because I can't find my plastic canvas, I'm not going to do that. You're welcome to do that if you'd like. So the next step that I'm going on to, and I need to read it, is step 14, where you place the assembled lining inside the bag, and then how you sew it around, top stitch, and turn it right side out. So I'm looking forward to how they tell us how to do that. I think we must leave one little edge open to turn it, but I need to read it, as I said before, 2 or 3 times before I do it. Then I'll come back and show you, and I'll explain anything that I learned along the way. I top stitched around all of the edges, tucked them all in, rolled this in. I'm not sure if I did this quite right at the top here, but it'll still work. And now what I need to do is get my frame, get the ends, thread them through here, and then snap the frame shut and see if that's the way I want it or if I need to do anything more. But anyway, basically, pretty pleased. There's some embellishments on it that you can do. I want to see when I put the rod through here, because this is quite a large rod opening, if I need to maybe top stitch this and leave it a little bit more up at the top, and have the rod pocket be down or be up, because I think I might have missed a step, but I read through it and I didn't see anything about doing that, rolling that down and stitching it. And, I think that just comes with making a bag and then seeing how it looks. Anyway, so far unframed, I'm pleased with it. Now I'll get the frame and come back. I think I could have used a longer frame. This is the 6-inch, and I kind of like it, I think that's pretty cool. And I think, though, that for purposes that I'm going to advertise them for, I think they make nice little bags to put sewing kit or something like that in. I mean, you can use it as a purse. I think that looks pretty good. And as far as the top, yeah, I could have made it narrower, but because I was using that reclaimed piece, I'm okay with that. And then see, there's a lot of space inside, a lot of room inside the bag, and it's kind of neat, kiss lock. And there's these little things on the side here where I do have some chains. I can put a chain on it so you can hang it around you over your shoulder, and it looks pretty good. It doesn't have the boxed bottom because of the way these end pieces are, and I don't know, this is different. The other pattern that they have, the first one I made, that's this one. This one is quite different at the top. It's not as tall as that one, and it does have the boxed bottom. It's a little easier to make because of the boxed bottom. It's different. I think I like this one that I just made with the rounded sides. I think I like the shape of it better. I like the size of it. It's a little taller. I don't know if I would do anything different, except maybe I think I am going to get some of that plastic canvas, I think they call it, to put a piece in the bottom here, because it does make it sit up flat. I could take a piece of cardboard and cover it with cloth and put it in there, but that's kind of tacky. I think when you get it filled with stuff, you wouldn't need to have that. I kind of like a smooshy bag. So what are your thoughts on that? Should I get that plastic? The plastic canvas is just a little piece of pliable plastic with holes in it. You can get it at Hobby Lobby or any of these other places. And it's just to put it in there so that it has a flat bottom so that it kind of sits on its own. But see, this is with the interfacing on both sides, it kind of does sit on its own like that. So I don't know, I'm on the fence about that. I don't know if I want to go to more expense for these bags, because I really just want to use up the frames. I'd be happy to send you a frame if you want, for $10 for shipping and the cost of the frame. So just let me know in the comments, and then you can send me an email with your address and stuff. So anyway, I've got a lot of frames. I've got about a dozen of these like this for this kind of bag. And then I'm doing some sew-in bags too. So anyway, that's it for today. Bye.